Michael Bolton. The epitome of late 80s and early 90s cheese, the sonic equivalent of Fabio, Michael Bolton gave adult contemporary a bad name with his overcooked interpretations of "Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay" and the Grammy winner "When a Man Loves a Woman," never mind his frequent collaborations with schlock songwriter Diane Warren. Coldplay. Coldplay was the biggest rock band in the world for most of the 00's platinum albums, stadium tours, 7 Grammys, and unexpected endorsements from Kanye West, Jay-Z, and Frank Ocean. They seemed to be on the way to establishing themselves as the next U2, but the relatively lackluster response to A Head Full of Dreams and the Kaleidoscope EP suggest that Chris Martin and company aren't necessarily too big to fail. Mary Chapin Carpenter. Carpenter won 5 Grammys from 1992 to 1995, but she couldn't keep up with the rapidly changing state of the country and pop charts in the late 90s and early 2000s. Even though she produced a clutch of big hits down at the Twist and Shout, Passionate Kisses, He Thinks He'll Kiss Her, few of them get airplay these days.
The Civil Wars. The indie folk duo of Joy Williams and John Paul White won Grammys for 3 straight years, 2012 to 14, but they called it quits a few months after their last win, for the song From This Valley. Williams and White have both released solo albums since, but to little notice. Music that is still essential for fans, or not. A Grammy carries a certain promise of immortality. Win one, just one, and your name is etched in history. But that's no guarantee that you or your music will live on in people's lives. In some cases, it's a matter of a cultural shift. People produce novelty songs besides Weird Al. In other cases, well, some musical acts end up sabotaging themselves, while others never truly caught on despite taking home the recording industry's highest award. Here are some examples of Grammy winners whose work has slipped away. Bobby Darin. Mad Men-era pop star Bobby Darin evolved in just a few short years from a purveyor of bubblegum pablum, Splish Splash, to a songwriter and interpreter of deeper and darker material, standards like Dream Lover, Mac the Knife, and Beyond the Sea that are more admired than loved by classic pop aficionados.
Gnarls Barkley. The surprising success of CeeLo Green and Danger Mouse's rock/soul/hip-hop hybrid didn't last long. A third album has been in the works since 2010. In the meantime, Green has launched a successful solo career, explored acting, worked on The Voice, and made a habit of ill-advised tweeting.
India.Arie. India.Arie rode the wave of early 00's neo-soul set in motion by Lauryn Hill, Erykah Badu, and Maxwell to 4 Grammys, but mixed reviews, low sales, and delays in between albums have swept her out of public awareness.
Macklemore and Ryan Lewis. The novelty quickly faded after Macklemore and Ryan Lewis beat Kendrick Lamar for Best New Artist and 2 hip-hop awards at the 2014 Grammys. The duo's second album wilted and they're currently on hiatus. Velvet Revolver. If a so-called supergroup featuring half the Use Your Illusion lineup of Guns N' Roses, Scott Weiland in between Stone Temple Pilots reunions, and the guitarist from a band called Electric Love Hogs seems like an embarrassing pick for the 2005 Best Hard Rock Performance Grammy, consider the other 4 equally unpalatable nominees from that year: Incubus, Metallica, For a Song from Saint Anger, Nickelback, and Slipknot.
John Mayer. Mayer hasn't disappeared. He released a new album, and 2 related EPs, in 2017, and has been performing with former members of the Grateful Dead. But it's a far cry from the multi-platinum success of his first 4 albums and his 00's tabloid presence, suggesting that his reputation hasn't recovered from his disastrous, and racist, 2010 Playboy interview. Don't worry. The link is safe.
Bobby McFerrin. Bobby McFerrin's unbearably upbeat 1988 hit Don't Worry, Be Happy was an anomaly in a long and storied career as a jazz vocalist, and one most of us prefer to forget. But McFerrin still has a devoted following among jazz and classical music listeners. In fact, he's won 7 other Grammys, most of them for jazz vocal performances, in addition to the 3 he won for Don't Worry, Be Happy.
Kim Carnes. Carnes quickly faded from the spotlight after winning Record of the Year in 1982 for Bette Davis' Eyes. The song occasionally pops up. Courtney Love, Taylor Swift, and Kylie Minogue have covered it in the last decade, but Carnes, and the rest of her sizable catalog, have mostly disappeared. Roger Miller. The one-of-a-kind singer-songwriter Roger Miller won 11 Grammys in 1964 and 65, and then had middling success until his death in 1992. Miller was enormously talented, but he wasn't made for showbiz superstardom. His absurdist character sketches, delivered in an imperturbable Texas drawl, and with wry, mordant wit, have made him a deeply respected cult figure.
Naughty by Nature. Naughty by Nature won the very first Best Rap Album Grammy, in 1996, for the now forgotten Poverty's Paradise. The New Jersey Trio's smash hit O.P.P. hasn't been forgotten, but it's more of a punchline or trivia answer than a fondly remembered favorite. Ronnie Milsap. Ronnie Milsap was a Grammy machine for more than a decade, racking up 6 country music awards between 1975 and 1988. But his slick crossover sound was made obsolete by George Strait, Clint Black, and Alan Jackson in the late 80s and early 90s, and it's never come back into style.
Alanis Morissette. Alanis Morissette remains active more than 20 years after the mega success of Jagged Little Pill, releasing new music every 4 or 5 years, with ever-diminishing returns, both commercially and critically. Sinead O'Connor. One massive hit, even one as affecting as Nothing Compares to You, wasn't enough to override O'Connor's penchant for alienating Middle America. Tearing up a photo of the Pope on Saturday Night Live, refusing to perform after the Star-Spangled Banner, and all the subsequent fallout effectively ended a once promising pop career.
Page and Plant. In the 1990s, a couple of half-baked Robert Plant/Jimmy Page albums seemed as close as anyone would ever get to a full-on Led Zeppelin reunion. But the duo's 2 albums of dusty folk blues were eclipsed by the band's one-off reunion concert in 2007, and the Page/Plant projects never really compared to the might of the original Zeppelin anyway.
Terence Trent D'Arby. It's not hard to figure out what happened to the career of RDADS funk and R&B singer Terence Trent D'Arby. Just check out his latest album, from 2015, an independently released double sci-fi concept album called The Rise of the Ziggubrian Time Lords. The Wallflowers. Jacob Dylan's rootsy alt-rock anthem seemed profound at the time. It probably had something to do with his father's reputation. But it took the Wallflowers 4 years to follow up Bringing Down the Horse, giving us time to put the college poetry lyrics and artsy pretensions of Best Rock Song Grammy winner One Headlight in proper perspective. Jeannie C. Riley. The very thing that made Tharper Valley P.T.A a hit in 1968, references to feminism, single motherhood, rising hemlines, and the swinging sexual revolution, make it a relic these days. It was Jeannie C. Riley's first hit, and her only major one.
Ray Stevens. 2-time Grammy winner Ray Stevens, famous, if that's the right word, for cornball novelties like The Streak and Guitarzon, was nominated 9 times over almost 2 decades and only once for comedy. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to channels.